The chair will recognize Mr. Carter from Louisiana for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Administrator Griswold, for being here with us today. There are at least 5 major Army Corps of Engineer projects that are being held up in my district currently due to funding gap. With INF having been implemented and the DRF, Disaster Recovery Fund, running low, what happens if this fund is not replenished by Congress?
Congressman, the projects that you currently mentioned, the obligations are on hold because they're not life-saving, life-sustaining projects, and we want to continue to reserve what's left of the DRF to support those efforts for things like we saw in Hurricane Idalia or in the Maui wildfires. As soon as the DRF is replenished, you have my commitment to begin reimbursing these projects on a first-in, first-out basis. And we will work around the clock 7 days a week to expedite those payments, but we cannot do so until the DRF is replenished.
We know that the time frame that we previously have known as hurricane season is dramatically extending year over year. If the $2.4 billion storm were to hit right now and empty the DRF, what would happen if a subsequent disaster struck with the Disaster Recovery Fund sitting on zero?
We are monitoring our disaster relief fund very closely, which is why that we implemented the immediate needs funding. If we have another catastrophic event that happens at the same time, we will continue. If we have another catastrophic event that happens at the same time, we will continue to prioritize those most critical life-saving activities to ensure that we have the resources that can go into communities and save lives. Continue to delay the obligations for the recovery projects, and then perhaps, if needed, for some of those life-sustaining projects that are happening so we can focus our efforts on life safety.
We know that these storms come harder, come faster, stay longer, leave more devastation in their path. We also know that there is a looming chance that the government can shut down or even have a continuing resolution. In the case of such a drastic act of shutting down the government or having a continuing resolution that freezes funding, what does that do to your agency and all of the ongoing natural disasters that you're currently facing?
Should a lapse in appropriations occur, then anything that would remain in our disaster relief fund carryover balance would be moved forward, but given our current state, it would be insufficient to cover all of our ongoing life-saving operations, and we would, again, have to continue to reduce the scope of what it is that we are supporting in our operations. We would be legally able to incur obligations for activities necessary for life-saving and protection of human life, but again, we would have to further reduce those types of life-saving operations that we are working on based on the amount of funding that we have available.
Isn't it true that if such an action of shutting down the government or having a continuing resolution that drastically impedes your ability to provide resources impacts Democrats, Republicans, independents, and the like throughout our country?
A lapse in appropriation for FEMA's Disaster Relief Fund has an impact on everybody across this nation from, again, our ability to do life-saving actions in a number of places, as well as ongoing recovery projects, regardless of where they're at.
As a result of climate change, deadly heat waves have gripped our nation from coast to coast. What step is the agency taking to mitigate heat hazards in our community? In my state alone, wildfires that we haven't unprecedented in Louisiana, Bayou Sauvage burning out of control. Share with us what measures you're taking. We see this happening more and more in places it's never happened before. People that have never suffered these calamities are now dealing with them. Share with us what actions your agency is taking to address them.
Yeah, I think, Representative Carter, what you have described is this convergence of multiple climate-related hazards that are coming together on communities in ways that we haven't seen before, where, decades of drought combined with extreme heat creating unprecedented wildfires in areas, or heat domes in areas that are lasting longer than they ever have. Our mitigation programs definitely can help support communities to better understand the types of threats and risks that they not just face today, but the risks that they're going to face in the future and how we can use our mitigation funds to help mitigate and reduce the impact of these risks, whether it's creating green space and white roofs to reduce the impact of heat, or hazard mitigation to help reduce the spread of wildfires in communities that have that type of threat. Our mitigation programs are so critical to helping communities across this country better understand what their risk is and how we can help reduce the impact so they don't have these long, complex recoveries, but most of all, that we can save lives.
Thank you very much. My time is up. And Madam Chair, I'm just going to end with this statement, because I will never pass up an opportunity when in your presence to talk about Risk Rating 2.0 and the devastation that it has, particularly on Louisiana, but in multiple other states. And I'll continue to encourage that we put our heads together. Thank you for the time that you've spent in discussing back and forth this issue that is far yet resolved. But I thank you for the efforts, and I implore you to continue working with us in a bipartisan way to address the issue of Risk Rating 2.0 that is devastating, particularly for Louisiana. Thank you, ma'am. I yield back.